Welcome to TIGKING's YouTube channel. Today's topic is fusion and dry washing. Generally, welding is to melt filler and material together to join metals. However, TIG welding has one big advantage over MIG or stick welding. You can do TIG welding without adding filler wire. This is called autogenous welding, but it is commonly called TIG fusion or dry washing. I actually use dry washing almost every day, so I will show you how to use dry washing. First, you can make a messy weld beautiful. The reason you need to make a good weld bit in welding is not to show off on Instagram or YouTube. You need to pass the weld inspection. There are many factors in the weld inspection, but a good weld visual is also important. What you are seeing now is the work of my son who is learning welding as a hobby. If you meet a strict weld inspector, you may fail. Since the weld height is okay, let's make it look good through dry washing. First, let's take a look at how to do the walking cup on the pipe. I will make a detailed video about the pipe welding later, so please watch it briefly today. The settings for welding current, etc. are displayed on the screen, so please refer to them. If there is an undercut at both ends, stay a little bit longer and check that the weld puddle is filled. Proceed with the filling of spreading the puddle to both ends. It is important to make sure that the tungsten tip doesn't lift when changing direction from one end to the other. Okay, let's take a look at the results together. You will see how the welding changes just by dry washing. If you are not yet a skilled welder, you can make the weld bit better by dry washing. However, please remember that this process adds unnecessary heat to the material, so do not use it too often. Second, you can make it straight. As you can see, the flange is not straight. It seems to be slightly over the tolerance. Okay, I will show you how to fix it now. The flange should be tilted slightly toward the pipe. Start slightly below 3 o'clock and heat up upwards. Do the same for the other side. This way, the heat is concentrated at 12 o'clock. You can use air to cool it down faster after welding. Air is too noisy, so I use a wet rag. Can you see the level bubble moving? Now it seems to be within tolerance, but if you are not satisfied, you can repeat the above process one more time. This time, it is almost perfectly straight. In this way, I use dry washing a lot to make the product straight. It is best if it is made perfectly in one go. However, there are many cases when it doesn't happen due to various factors, and this can be useful in such cases. Third, lack of fusion? No worry, you can fix it very easy. There are also several ways to fix the root pass. Don't worry, I will tell you all of them one by one in the future. I found that the root tie-in is not good. I have to fix it. Fortunately, the tungsten can be reached if it is extended. So I decided to fix it by dry washing rather than grinding out from the outside weld. However, the tungsten is extended extremely, so it will not be protected by the shielding gas coming out of the torch. If you weld, the weld will be all sugaring. There is a solution all the time. If you supply purging gas inside the pipe, it protects the tungsten as well as the weld. Showtime, and take a look at the result. Fourth, you can weld the corner joint without filler. The video shows welding the cap attached to the end of the pipe, and fusion was done by melting only the material without adding filler. Since there is no welding video, I made a sample again for my subscribers. As you can see, if the material is not thick and joint is small, you can just melt the material itself and weld it. Let's look at the welding video and the result. I melt the material on top and bring it down. I fuse most pipe or frame caps if the cap thickness is not bigger than 1/8. If the cap is thicker than 1/8, it is better to add filler. When welding the inside of a slip-on flange, I just fuse it without adding filler wire depending on how much the pipe setback is. Sometimes the pipe setback from the flange face is too short. In this case, if you add filler, it makes too much weld pull and it overflows toward the flange face. If that happens, it is a big issue. I do fusion to weld very thin sheet metal. If you add a filler, it will be a messy weld. Fusion without the filler is way easier and better. Let me show you two weldings. One is a butt joint and the other is edge joint. You should remember this to do TIG fusion. There should be no gap between plates. This rule applies to all weld applications to do fusion. Today, I introduced TIG fusion and dry washing. These are used quite a lot in TIG welding. If you need to repair a weld mistake or weld thin plates, please try using TIG fusion and dry washing. I'd like to thank the subscribers who always support me. I upload one episode related to TIG every Wednesday. I would appreciate it if you could subscribe, like, and alum. Thanks for watching and see you next Wednesday.